There has been a lot of chatter in the historical miniatures community that people didn't like the venue for Cold Wars 2023. Attendance was definitely down this year. The venue was the Valley Forge Casino Resort, and it was challenging. Games were spread out in a lot of rooms that were sometimes hard to find, and there were no water stations. You had to bring your own water. But we did see a fair number of beautiful games from a wide range of historical periods, including many impressive games from the American War of Independence. And here at Mark's Game Room, we ran 9 games over the 2.5 days of the con. So, was it worth it? Even with low attendance, was it fun? Okay, well, Carl, I was there all 3 days, and so were you, right?
Yep.
What'd you think?
I had a fun time.
Yeah, I did too, really. I mean, while I was there, a lot of people were kind of grousing about the location. You know, we got to walk around, and I totally hear them. But I have to say, at the end of the 2.5 days, I felt great. I had a great time.
Yeah, I think definitely the attendance seemed to be a little bit lower than in previous years or at the other 2 HMGS conventions. But, I think that there were some counterbalancing points to make up for that.
Yeah, and I agree. If you watch the other Little Wars video about Cold Wars, I mean, I agree with everything kind of Greg was saying about the location. But as a game master, right, all my games were full, like all the time.
Yeah.
And people were lined up, and I was like, well, I can run another one in an hour. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And those games were full. So from a game master's perspective, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, people were really eager to play, and I think the smaller number of games meant that there was less instances where people were leaving games unfilled or just dipping out of games,
Right. All right, so speaking of that, let's give you guys our thoughts on what it was like to run our games at Cold Wars 2023. So, Carl, you ran Marathon.
This is the Plains of Marathon, right? The Persians are coming in to invade to punish Athens.
Yes!
For their... So we did a 28mm version of the Battle of Marathon using the Men of Bronze rules from Asprey. And it was just a fun, neat little scenario, kind of a more beer and pretzels style of game. But the folks who showed up for it had a really good time.
Touching the ship's route conditions, so that would be cool if that happened. Historically, there was one guy who actually did. Yeah, exactly.
And, things were, for a while, it looked pretty different from where things were supposed to go in history.
All right, Carl, so was history changed?
No. The Greeks rallied in the last bit of the game and charged forward, and they actually torched the Persian ships. It was a real rout for the Persians, and ended up they melted away back into the sea, and Athens stood tall just as they did in 490. So
cool.
It was pretty fun.
That's awesome. And what was your other game that you ran?
So my other game was the Battle of CYNOSCEPHALAE. Romans against Macedonians using Age of Hannibal rules in 6mm. The players were awesome. I got more players than actually I allotted for on the in the PEL, and we had a great time. The battle was so close fought, and people were cheering after die rolls, and I have to say, it was my favorite convention game running experience I've ever had.
It was great. No, it was the craziest ending of a game I've ever seen. So the Romans were up 5-2 in the morale clock, and the Macedonians just start pushing back up the hill, knocking the morale down, and then the consul is captured and taken back to the Roman camp, and it ends up coming down to the final turn. It was 2-2. It was completely tied up, and all of a sudden the Roman line just collapses. All of a sudden the Macedonians march forward to win. It was the most insane ending of one of these games I've ever seen.
I think when you left for dinner after you dropped by to see us, it was very, the term I would use is cinematic. There were a lot of these movie moments, the king running in with a cavalry charge, and just afterwards, all the players said to me that it was really fun. One guy said it was his favorite convention game he's played in, and I was really gratified just to have a great experience like that. Bill, what happened?
I have no clue.
They can't all be like that.
Yeah, but it's really great when you have that, and a game where you don't know anyone. Everyone kind of comes together. It's great. Let me ask you this. Of those two sets of rules, how did they play in a convention setting, meaning no one knows each other and they don't necessarily know the rules? Were they able to sit down and just pick it up and have a good time?
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I chose the rules I did. Both of those rule sets are the sort of things you can play off of one page, 5-minute explanation, pretty straightforward gameplay. I think they're very different in terms of the focus on history versus more like game mechanics things, but I think they're both fast play. And I would say that the lesson I've learned from running a bunch of games is that you kind of gotta use a fast play rule set for a convention. Otherwise, people are going to be falling asleep while you're explaining these rules and all these charts and stuff.
Right. All right, well, you heard Men of Bronze and Age of Hannibal. Good convention rules and, probably good for a quick night game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So what else did we run? Ben Bentley, he ran 2 games for us. He ran 2 Fire at Sea games, which is my naval rules. He ran Sink the Bismarck campaign, which was super fun, and he ran the Battle of Narvik.
So I can't go in here.
So in the Battle of Narvik, again, all the players took to it, had a great time. It was really fun.
We are doing the second Battle of Narvik. The German destroyers in the first scenario took a fair bit of damage, and now the British have sent the Warspite to come and polish them off. So we'll see if the remaining Germans can survive the oncoming onslaught.
And in the end, history was changed.
Oh.
Yes, because although the Kriegsmarine lost all their ships, as they're always going to, they made the British pay a heavy, heavy price. And so the Royal Navy came away with such a bloody nose that it might not have been worth it.
Wow, that's a tough scenario.
Tough scenario, but also a good convention game because you can sit down, you can learn the game in 5 minutes. Everyone had a great time, and there you go. So my game.
Yeah.
Okay. I ran
War of the Roses, right?
War of the Roses, Test of Resolve. I ran 2 scenarios. One was the Battle of Hexham, which was so popular that all the players demanded a second game. We swapped sides and we played that. The other one I ran was the Battle of Edgecott, and that is a video on Little
I'm
Wars
familiar
TV.
with that scenario.
Yes, you are. But what was cool about that is several of the players had watched the video on Little Wars and wanted to play the game.
Oh, that's very cool.
So they came in, and it looked like a total disaster for the Earl of Pembroke.
How goes the Wars of the Roses?
Oh my God, the Earl of Pembroke's getting murdered by bowfire. But he's finally at the stream, so we'll see if he's able to punch over. They got to the river, but the players stuck with it. They launched an attack across the river, and much like your game, all of a sudden it started to turn. And the rebels had like a morale of 10, and next thing you knew, they had a morale of 2. And everyone was like, oh my God, this is so great! And then Earl of Pembroke lost. But it was just super fun. And again, I think those set of rules are really great for a convention because they're easy to play. You don't need to know a lot of rules. And it's just super fun. So again, a lot of laughs, a lot of good times, and just a great time overall. So
Nice.
a few other things at the convention. So those are our games.
Yeah.
We also, Tim Tilson ran some Fireball games, Vichy French, and those went really well. I'm going to run probably more Fireball in the Historicon. So if you saw the rules review and you bought the rules, you're going to be at Historicon. We'll have a couple more Fireball games. So join in. We'll have something great. All right. Did you go to the flea market?
I did. I was on both sides of the table at the flea market, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I heard your first side, you weren't really there. Like someone bought it right away, right?
Yeah, I sat down and I was there maybe 10, 15 minutes and somebody snatched up the thing. So It was great. But yeah, I found some really cool terrain in the flea market.
Nice.
And ended up getting some 30 Years War figures.
30 Years War? Who plays 30 Years War?
Who's ever heard of that? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What did you find in the flea market?
So my big find was some 32 millimeter Star Trek figures, like the original, like Kirk, Spock, all those guys, some Klingons. Never saw them before. Someone had them unpainted, and I thought that's kind of interesting. So, guy gave me a deal. I bought them all. So maybe we'll see a Ruthless game set in the Star Trek world at some point. How cool would that be?
Very cool. I call playing Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Come on. All right. So flea market actually was pretty good. I kind of felt like it was a good, normal-sized flea market. Dealer hall. Dealer hall was much smaller.
A little late.
A little light. And there was a couple big people that weren't there.
Yeah.
You wanted some trees.
Yeah, I wanted that terrain
battlefield terrain concept was not there. I don't even know I don't think Old Glory was there.
No. Yeah. No. The big
so there was enough stuff to buy, but it was definitely on the light side, and not the best dealer hall experience.
Yeah, I've heard that Adepticon was going on the week after or this. So maybe that was what drew people away. But yeah, it definitely was light, and it was a little disappointing. As someone who wants to dwindle away his small salary, I was left disappointed. I walked out, I think, with more money than I came in with.
Yeah, I think I did too. I bought a 3D printed house, but that was really kind of about it. All right, so I guess to wrap up. I would agree with everything Greg said in his review video, that it was kind of still spread out, still not the greatest venue, but that didn't prevent me from really having a great time, is what I would say. Yeah,
I was surprised at how good of a time I had, even though we mostly just ran games. I didn't really play in much, but I still had a great time. I hope they move the show to Fredericksburg again. That's my hot take. Bring it back to Virginia.
Right. Anyways, so if you want to go to the cons and have a good time, Mark's Game Room Table, we try to have games that are convention friendly. Lots of laughs, lots of good times. So join us when you see it at the next convention at Historicon, and hopefully by then it'll be past June 6th, so our channel will be out. So hopefully, maybe we'll have some interesting guests come to our table.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe some of the games that you see on the channel will be making an appearance at the show.
Yeah. All right, so we hope to see you all at Historicon. Here's a preview of one of the videos we'll be launching on our new channel on June 6th.
I think our last action should be your dad, actually. George Les is right there in cover. He should just shoot straight ahead and take out that guy. That Unter officer there.
I agree.